Chances are this time last year, none of these three men had any idea that they would be running for Congress right now. All of that changed earlier this year when Congressman Tom Rooney announced he would join the chorus of Republican members of Congress retiring. Rooney blamed the toxic atmosphere in Congress. There is also concern that the Democrats have a good shot in taking over Congress this fall. The Florida 17 is an overwhelmingly Republican congressional district. There are two Democrats running. Both have barely raised any money, so very likely one of these three men will be your next congressman: State Senator Greg Steube, State Representative Julio Gonzalez, and businessman Bill Akins. So here we are, folks. I wish to thank you all for coming here today. We're going to begin with opening arguments, and we're going to give you all each a minute to introduce yourself to voters. And Senator, I'll start with you.
Well, thank you, and thank you for having us on tonight. I appreciate the opportunity to debate the issues of the day. I want to first thank the citizens and the voters of Sarasota County for giving me the opportunity to represent them for this past 8 years. And over those past 8 years, I have stayed strong on the principles that I believe in. And that's why I've been endorsed by the NRA, because I have a track record of fighting for the Second Amendment. In my time in the legislature, I've filed over 23 pro-Second Amendment bills. And I'm also been endorsed by the Family Resource Council Action Pact because of my commitment to life and to my protecting the unborn. I filed a number of different bills as it relates to protecting the unborn. And I want to take that experience and all the things that I've done here in Tallahassee, and I want to take that to Washington, D.C. And I want to go to Washington, D.C. to help Trump pass his agenda. I want to fight with President Trump like I fought at the state level to help him pass his illegal immigration plan, to help him pass tax cuts, to make the tax cuts that we just passed permanent, and continue to work on cutting regulations and businesses. Thank you.
Representative Gonzalez.
Well, my name is Dr. Julio Gonzalez, and first of all, thank you for having us on your show today, and thank you to our viewers for having us into your homes. This is a very important decision that we're going to make. I'm an orthopedic surgeon. I've been practicing in Venice for 13 years now, and I have been fighting for our Constitution. I've been fighting for less government intrusion since 2003. I've been fighting against socialized health care, and yes, I've been fighting against death panels as well. Now the question becomes, where do I best serve my fellow citizens, and where do I best serve my community? And the answer to me is at least to have the community consider me for Congress. I'm a veteran. I've served on the USS America. My fight against constitutional intrusions from the federal government, particularly in our health care, has taken me to law school, got my law degree, and now I am ready to continue the fight into Washington, D.C.
Very good. Mr. Akins.
Thank you. I'd like to correct your opening statement. I actually filed a run against Tom Rooney back in October.
I stand corrected.
And in January is when he bailed out, and then in February I stuck with these two guys. Anyway, my name is Bill Akins, and I'm a retired businessman, charter boat operator, and transportation broker. And I'm not an attorney. I'm not a lawyer like my opponents. I'm not part of the establishment like my opponents. And I'm not part of the special interest money like my opponents. I believe that we should have fair and purely transparency in all of these financial dealings. I have not taken one dime out of the district except for $100 from my wife's aunt in Virginia. My other two opponents here have taken a lot of money from outside the district. I've come up with a 6-point God and country pledge, and I'll be talking about that a little later. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all. Coming up, the candidates and the differences between them. Welcome back. We continue our debate in the Florida 17th Congressional District GOP primary with State Senator Greg Steube, State Representative Julio Gonzalez, and businessman Bill Akins. Now time for the questions, and all three of you have real street creds when it comes to conservative politics and a conservative political philosophy. So, Senator, I'll start with you and ask, what is the major policy difference between you and your two competitors?
Well, I think the biggest policy difference, well, there's several. If I only talk about one, I have fought and advocated for the Second Amendment. It's one thing to sit and push a red or green button as it relates to your positions on issues. It's much different being at the forefront of a fight. And I have filed 23 pro-Second Amendment bills in my time in the legislature. That doesn't come easy with the reactions of how emotional an issue like that is. And it's because I feel passionate, and it's because I fought for my country in Iraq, and I want to fight for the values that we as conservatives have. And for me, one of those big issues issues is the Second Amendment, and I have a track record of doing that, and Dr. Gonzalez had an opportunity to file bills on the Second Amendment, and he hasn't. So I want to continue to work and fight for the Second Amendment at the national level if I'm elected.
Representative Gonzalez, I believe you also have an A rating with the NRA.
Yes, sir, I do.
Does the senator have you in terms of his dedication to the Second Amendment more than you?
No, absolutely not. It's interesting that you file a gazillion bills, but all of them are unable to pass even the committee that you chair. It's also interesting that the NRA would have picked him as somebody that they would endorse when he's had reports on the newspapers that shots have been fired in his home, and that one time when he called for the police for assistance, he actually stepped out with an AR-15, necessitating the sheriff's department to detain him. And then he called the sheriff the next day to yell at him for why he was being detained. I think it's ridiculous that we would have somebody with such a track record as a spokesperson for the Second Amendment, and I think any one of us would be able to do a good job in policy.
I think that qualifies for a rebuttal.
Yeah, I don't have any idea what he's talking about. Would love to, I didn't come on the show to talk about whatever it is that, obviously these guys want to talk a lot about me. I came on this show to talk about the issues and talk about things that the real voters of the state of Florida want to hear.
Okay, Bill?
Okay, my A rating with the NRA is an AQ, meaning I've only filled out the questionnaire, and according to the questionnaire, my answers give me an A rating. The plus rating only they give to legislators. Funny thing, though, Mr. Stubbe worked for a lobbying firm that was also lobbying for the Brady Bill's gun control people. That's kind of strange. Is he really that strong, or is he just, looking at the dollars?
We're blowing our format here, but I think that also qualifies for a rebuttal. Greg?
Yeah, I'm the only candidate in this race endorsed by the NRA. My former law firm has 150 lawyers that represent a litany and array of clients. I've been endorsed by the NRA. I've been endorsed by the NRA because they know that I will go to Washington, D.C. and fight for the values that we hold as in the Second Amendment.
Okay, our debate with the candidates from the 17th Congressional District will continue. Welcome back. We are continuing our debate in the Florida 17th Congressional District GOP primary with State Senator Greg Stubbe, State Representative Julio Gonzalez, and businessman Bill Akins. Gentlemen, recently the House Intelligence Committee Chair, Devin Nunes, made a speech on the campaign trail where he said it was important that the Republicans maintain the control of Congress because, to quote him, if we have to keep all these seats, we have to keep the majority. If we do not keep the majority, all of this goes away. He's referring to the president. So the question to you, Representative, is your pledge of allegiance to the voters, to the oath that you would take if you were elected, or is it to this particular president?
My pledge of allegiance is to the Constitution of the United States of America, pure and simple. That's what the Constitution requires. That's the oath of office that I intend to take in January of 2019. I think, however, Congressman Nunes has a very significant and important point that has constitutional ramifications, specifically the overt attempt by the Democrats to impeach a president over A, dislikes, or B, differences in policy. I think that would be a strong threat to our constitutional integrity and will establish a terrible precedent for our future. And when elected, I will fight against that.
Right, Bill, same question to you. Are you going to be loyal to the Constitution, the oath of office, or is there a difference between that and allegiance to the president?
Well, the Constitution is the main thing that we focus on, and my allegiance is to the Constitution. And if it may be another president, that's who we would be loyal to. There's a lot of questions about loyalty to the president. For example, did you know Senator Stubbe has taken almost $80,000 from the Club for Gross, who keeps attacking President Trump? He's taken over $5,000 from the Koch brothers, who keep attacking President Trump. He's working with these groups. He was endorsed by the Republican Liberty Caucus, who has never endorsed President Trump and refused to do so. So you have to ask, where's the people's loyalty? I think in his case it's the money. He doesn't care where it's at, just the money.
Senator, so I'm going to give you an opportunity to address both things. Again, the main question, responding to what Representative Nunez said in that speech, do you owe your Pledge of Allegiance to the Constitution, to your constituents, and is there a difference between that and loyalty to the President? And if you want to respond to Bill, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, just like I swore an oath to the Constitution to serve against all enemies, foreign and domestic, when I served in the military, I would do the same in Congress. My allegiance is to our country, our Constitution, and all the things that it stands for. I've always supported President Trump, and I will go to Washington and support his agenda if I get elected. I think it's no secret that if the Democrats win the House, that they would try impeachment proceedings. And if I'm elected in August, on August 28th in the primary, I will fight tooth and nail to make sure that Nancy Pelosi is not the next Speaker of the U.S. House.
We just have a couple of seconds, but I want to give you a chance to respond to Bill, who basically said that you have taken money from conservative Republican groups that are not exactly supportive of the president.
I mean, there's people all over this state, all over this district, from doctors to businessmen to lawyers, you name it, that have supported my candidacy for this race. And if you look at the different contributions that I've had in my race, a lot of it have come from locally right here in this district and from a wide array of backgrounds. And because they believe in my conservative message, they believe that I will be the best person to represent this district in U.S. Congress.
Okay, we are just getting warmed up. Our debate with the candidates for the 17th Congressional District continues after a quick break. Stay with us. Welcome back, everyone. We are continuing our debate in the Florida 17th Congressional District GOP primary with State Senator Greg Steube, State Representative Julio Gonzalez, and businessman Bill Akins. Bill, let me start with you this time. For better or for worse, money plays a big role in our politics. And if you look at all the local channels, including this one, you'll see that there are a lot of commercials from Representative Gonzalez and Senator Steube. You lag far behind both men in terms of raising money from supporters and being able to fight competitively on the airwaves. Don't you need to do something like that to be considered a strong candidate who could actually win this GOP primary?
You know, I believe I can actually win this. However, I will not sell my soul for a vote. I will not do that, such as certainly Mr. Steube has. I have a whole packet right here of a network of dark money that is tied to Mr. Steube, dark money PACs, and it going back for the last 3 election cycles. Tens of millions of dollars have gone through this, and you can't find out where it's going. It is just a big puzzle. And it's this kind of money that we need to do away with because of, like Mr. Steube, he's getting all of this money and he's doing all of these attack ads against Dr. Gonzalez, you know, saying he wasn't, he's a no-Trumper, but in the same time, he's taking all of this money from anti-Trump organizations. That's pretty disingenuous, if you ask me. And the whole money system is corrupt.
Senator Steube, I'll let you respond to that in a moment, but let me ask you about the larger point, because some of the attacks on you have included the lobbying that your former law firm does on behalf of the county and other interested parties. Lobbyists are one of the boogeymen in politics that have gotten the rap, deservedly or not, that we don't want lobbyists to have outsized influence on our members of Congress or state legislatures. So speak for a moment to viewers who just don't like lobbyists, don't like lobbying, and don't want a congressman who may have done that as a profession.
Well, again, I worked with a law firm that did a wide array of different things, and one of the accusations is that I used taxpayer dollars. It was my former law firm that represented Sarasota County. It's still my current law firm that represents Sarasota County, and if you do a public records request to see where that money goes, it's never gone to me or to my legal company. It's gone to Becker and Polikoff. So to say that I'm making $500,000 on lobby fees is just egregious, and all you have to do is look at our public Form 6s that we file and see what my salary was while I was there. But back to all of these different issues that keep coming up. Look, I actually filed a bill this past session for the last 2 years while I was in the Senate to curb dark money at the state level. But what happens at the state level and what happens at the national level are totally different. I have no control over what the Club for Growth does, or an organization that just endorsed my candidacy and did a media buy for me with Honor, which is a veterans organization that supports veterans, and they just did a media buy. You can't coordinate at the federal level. At the state level, I did a bill that wouldn't allow political committees to move money around, because what they can do is they can move money around into political committees, and then you get attacked from a political committee and you don't know where it's coming from. So I actually filed a bill that would require those political committees to not have the ability to do that, because I don't think that that's right. At the federal level, that doesn't happen because the candidates cannot coordinate with super PACs or whatever these outside organizations are doing. My campaign hasn't bought a single lick of TV. That has all been outside organizations that I don't have control over.
Julio, let me give you a chance now to address some of the issues that have been thrown at you during this campaign, including the malpractice lawsuit against, and correct me if I'm wrong, against your practice and another doctor who was there. In the very minimum, what should voters and people in our community think when either a physician or a physician's group is accused of malpractice? That's one of the most important things that to any physician.
Well, I think this this event, this communication that took place and gripped our community over the past week, regarding, number one, the disclosure of the lawsuit to the public. To the public sphere, despite the fact that this is a private situation that took place between an individual who was suing my partner, shows exactly, goes to the core of what's wrong with medical malpractice litigation today, because the lawsuit is a completely frivolous lawsuit. And the commentary that was made by the plaintiff attorney when he was confronted about the issue was completely legally unpalatable and unsound, and we're actually seeking sanctions from that attorney. It also speaks grossly about the state of politics today, because we are essentially at a point where a candidate would be willing to bring that to the attention of the public where it doesn't belong, despite whatever whatever implications and consequences there may be to that family that is grieving presently.
Senator, you've also been the subject of some attacks, including on your service to our country in the military. Set the record straight in terms of your service in Iraq, I believe. Were you a combat veteran? Did you ever, if you're not, did you ever claim to be one at some point during this campaign or before?
Look, and I did this a couple weeks ago when we discussed some of these issues before. I will tell the viewers what I did and let them be the judge of my service to our country. After September 11th, which occurred while I was on my first semester of law school, I decided to graduate law school early and enlist in the United States Army. I enlisted as an infantryman. I went in as an E4. I went to basic combat training at Fort Benning, Georgia. I went from there to officer candidate school. I was selected for officer candidate school, where I was selected as an infantry officer. I went to infantry officer basic course. I graduated from infantry officer basic course. I spent about 1.5 years in the infantry, and then I branch transferred from the infantry branch to the JAG Corps. And I was assigned to the 25th Infantry Division in Schofield Barracks. 6 months after getting there, we deployed to Iraq. When we deployed to Iraq, we were based in Tikrit, but I constantly was doing missions all throughout the northern part of the country. When I was there, I was the Chief of Detainee Operations for Multinational Division North. I went on a number of different missions as it relates to prosecuting detainees that attacked our service members. I was on the detainee team deciding what we did with the individuals that attacked our service members, constantly going and traveling across the country. And anybody that served any amount of time there knows that anybody that served over there is in harm's way. And I believe that all Iraq and Afghanistan people that deployed were in harm's way, and I thank them for their service to our country. And I was happy to fight for their freedom to protest me in my service to my country.
Please allow me to respond, because there's much more to this story. This story was brought to my attention by combat veterans in our community. They were appalled that Senator Stubbe, in his bid for Senate, had actually placed on his website and on other forums the words, "I am a combat veteran." I never questioned Senator Stubbe's service. As a matter of fact, I applaud it. But I do question and am disappointed about his misrepresentation of his service, because it brings, it does a disservice to those who are actual combat veterans. Let me just say one more thing, because it hasn't come out. The experiences that Senator Stubbe describes are the same experiences that I went through, except as a physician. I too was in a combat zone. I too was in Mogadishu, where we heard shots fired. I too felt like I was in danger's way. But I would never, in a million years, call myself a combat veteran.
Greg, let me give you a chance to respond.
I've never misrepresented any awards that I have or have not received. I've detailed the service to my country, and I served in a combat zone, and I received combat pay. If some people want to deem that a combat veteran, if some people don't, I don't care. I served my country, and I was proud to do it.
All right, Bill, let me give you just a brief opportunity to weigh in.
Okay, you know, I've known cooks, mechanics, all sorts of people in the military. They were proud of what they did. They didn't go and embellish their record for political gain. You know, all you had to do, son, was say, I served and I'm proud of it, and you would have gotten a welcome home. Thank you for your service.
Okay, we have to take a quick break because we have to pay the bills. Our debate on the candidates, with the candidates on the 17th Congressional District GOP primary will continue after a quick break. Stay with us. Welcome back. We continue our debate in Florida's 17th Congressional District GOP primary with State Senator Greg Stubbe, State Representative Julio Gonzalez, and businessman Bill Akins. Gentlemen, I was under the impression that the Republican Party was all about deficit reduction. Well, just in the last few days, the federal government recorded a $76.9 billion deficit in July, with increased government spending and tax cuts keeping the country on track to its record biggest annual deficit in 6 years. Bill, what happened to balancing the budget?
Good question. I know that I am strictly for a cap on spending. Actually, we need to reduce spending. I will never vote to increase taxes or revenues, whatever they, they like to call it, different things. But no increases for the government, period. They take far too much. There are places that we can eliminate spending and departments we can get rid of. But the deficit has got to come down, period.
Senator, what happened to Democrats being the tax and spenders?
Well, I mean, there is no doubt that Washington has always had a spending problem. The recent omnibus spending bill that was passed, I would have voted against it because it put another $1 trillion on our deficit. We in Florida have an excellent track record of balancing our budget every single year because we have a balanced budget amendment. I support what Vern Buchanan's tried to do in a balanced budget amendment. I think we need to cut our spending significantly and balance our budget every single year, just like we do in
Congressman
Florida.
Buchanan has often called for balancing the budget. The tax cuts certainly did not help in that cause.
Yeah, I will correct slightly what Senator Stubbe said, in that the country didn't always have a spending problem. The spending problem began with the passage of the 16th Amendment to the Constitution and the 17th Amendment. And since then, we have had a bunch of intoxicated politicians reaching into the refrigerator and grabbing another drink. Okay, we need to put that to a stop.
One other quick question. A lot has been made, Representative Julio Gonzalez, about your allegiance to President Trump, that you were kind of late to the old Trump train. What would you say to your two competitors?
Well, I think there's only one competitor who's claiming that, because Bill Akins has never doubted my allegiance to President Trump. I'm the only candidate who has contributed to President Trump and Trump's campaign, and that actually occurred on October 28, 2016. On July 4, 2016, there were pictures of me wearing my MAGA hat. Look, 70% of Republicans went through this problem, this riddle of who they were going to support. I went with Marco Rubio initially. I fought for him vociferously. Since then, I have always praised the president. I've noticed the wonderful progress that he's been making.
Senator, what difference does it make if Representative Gonzalez was late to the party, as long as he's on the train now?
Well, he branded himself as a never-Trumper. A lot of people supported other candidates in the race. They didn't say things like, Trump's no conservative, it's deplorable that Trump's still in the race, it's despicable, his immigration plans. A lot of people supported other candidates, but didn't say the type of atrocious things that Representative Gonzalez said about the president. And he branded himself as a never-Trumper. Never means never.
So he's accusing me of being effective at supporting my candidate. Look, in 2016, March of 2016, I vociferously supported Marco Rubio. President Trump has done an incredible job. Those tweets from which Senator Stubbe takes are falsely giving the impression that I am not supportive of President Trump, and it's just a falsity. That is one of the many problems with his candidacy.
I'll have to take Dr. Gonzalez's side on this. At least he's not taking money from anti-Trump groups like the senator is. You know, $5,000 from the Koch brothers, who are definitely not on the Trump train.
10 seconds, if you want to respond to that.
I've always supported this president, and I will go to Washington, D.C. and support President Trump's agenda.
Okay, coming up, we'll have the closing remarks from our guest. And our guest join us right now for closing remarks. And Representative Gonzalez, we'll start with you.
Well, thank you, and thank you again for having us in your living room, and thank you again for watching this debate. Look, it's a very important decision that we're about to make. It's a decision that will represent our district. I am the only candidate who's served this district as a physician. I'm the only candidate that has studied these issues, that has written on the Constitution, that has written on healthcare policy. I'm the only candidate that has been fighting against death panels and has been fighting against socialized medicine since 2003. I would hope that you would be able to consider my candidacy and break through from all the mistruths and lies and understand that I am a very strong Trump supporter, that I will continue to fight for conservative principles come January 2019 if blessed with your vote and the ability to serve you in Congress.
All right, Bill?
If you really want to know where a candidate's loyalty is, look at the money. Mr. Stubbe's almost 50% of the money he's taken in is from out of state. You know, my special interest is the people of the 17th District, and that's all. That's the only money I've taken, and I will be loyal to them and not the money people. I'm a Christian, I'm a father, I'm a husband, and I want to work for these people and not for the special interest dollars and the swamp. You know, this is exactly what the president has been referring to as the swamp, is this kind of money spending by these kind of candidates. And I hope that you will consider me on August 28th. Thank you.
Senator, you get the last word.
Yeah, and thank you very much for having us on here and debate some of the issues going on in this race. Again, I just want to thank all of the citizens of Sarasota County to giving me the opportunity to represent them for the last 8 years. I want to take the conservative values and the things that I have fought for to Washington, D.C. I've been endorsed by the NRA because you won't find a stronger advocate and leader on the Second Amendment in the state of Florida, and I intend to do that in Washington. I've been endorsed by the Family Resource Council Action Pact because of my fighting for the unborn and for life. And I want to go up there and work with President Trump and pass his agenda. You won't find somebody that will work harder to work with President Trump to pass his illegal immigration plan, to build the wall, end chain migration, and end the visa lottery system.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. We want to thank our guests, State Senator Greg Stubbe, State Representative Julio Gonzalez, and businessman Bill Akins for joining us tonight.